everybody. It's Leah Bond with Legends of Tabletop, and welcome to an introductory episode of a new direction that I'm going into, just to describe one of my favorite hobbies to you. Uh, that is the hobby of home brewing. You know, I've got access to this wonderful kitchen and all of these things in this kitchen, and why not use that to my advantage to make something that I imbibe on a very frequent basis. So, in keeping with fun things to do while gaming with friends, uh, drinking is one of those activities that I engage in with my friends quite a bit. So it's an awful lot of fun. Why not save some money too? Um, I know that some of these tasks that I'm going to perform on camera are very long and tedious. Please bear with me. I'll try to voice over some of these sped up actions that I will try to cut down to save quite a bit of time. Um, when you are going into a venture such as this, it's best to weigh your options. What I have done, I have one heat source, my stove top. I have one pot that's big enough to kind of do something that is, it produces a very high quality product that I enjoy quite a bit. I've recently become involved in doing this competitively. Um, I must admit, I didn't place high, but I did place. I'd say it was a very local event, a regional competition at the High Plains Brew. There were over 100 brewers that showed up for this event, and it was so much fun. There was so much camaraderie present, and just being part of a community, the community that you live into. You know, so I mean, it's definitely worth getting involved in. I find it greatly rewarding, and here is just my attempt to share this with you a little bit if you would like to get involved too. I would recommend uh, at least checking out this book. Any version will do. I have had the joy of being able to, and the privilege of being able to check out and read the copy of all the current versions. This one you can get on Amazon for fairly inexpensively compared to the newer version, and I assure you the only difference, much of the copy is the same. The only difference is the recipes have been updated to a wider range. But all of the information that you need to get started making a safe brew, uh, an effective brew, um, for much less than what you could pay in retail for the same thing, it's covered in here. And there are other books that you can get as well. The internet has a wealth of information, um, you know, for all ventures that you might want to try to do. I've gotten involved in using breakfast cereal to make some of my brews, and that has been very effective because I'm going to go through materials that you might need and try to describe a process to you of sanitizing all of your equipment and what you need to do just to get a, we're going to go through a simple kit today that you can easily get on the internet. I got it on sale from Adventures in Home Brewing. John's a great guy. I mean, you can go to your local brew supply shop, and I'm sure they'll have something for you too. You can draw on the experience of any number of people at your friendly local brew shop, and they can help you get informed to the best of your ability. If you want to start kegging, that's great. I haven't gotten started in kegging yet. I still use bottles, and it works well for me. So anyway, here we go. What I'm using for my own brew, I'm making a 5-gallon pumpkin brew that I got on sale from Adventures in Homebrewing for 20 bucks. Your mileage may vary. You might not like a pumpkin brew. You might want to do something else. I've got another 5-gallon batch of Trappist going on. It's a Chimay Blue knockoff. But yeah, I just showed you a 5-gallon carboy, and in that carboy, I have an airlock. I have used this airlock quite a bit. You can tell because it's kind of hazy. I've got to rinse this off with sanitizer and a drilled bung. You've got to get a drilled bung to go into your carboy. So, I mean, there's a lot of equipment that you might need that may seem unfamiliar to you. But, I mean, a quick search on Craigslist, go to your local friendly brew shop, and they'll be able to help you out, or find an internet source like I have with Adventures in Homebrewing. Homebrewing.org, I believe, is the website. I've used them quite a bit, and they've been very helpful. And then also your local brew stores. Local to me, I love Brew Lab. They're great. They're excellent, and they hosted the competition that I took part in. So I'm going to sanitize my equipment. When you are fermenting things, you want to make sure that nothing undesirable can get in there. And in order to do that, I am going to sanitize all of my stuff, which would be the carboy, the brew pod, which is my old spaghetti pod, soup stock pot. That's what I use. And some people might use a pre-mixed sanitizer called Sanitizing. It already has water in it, but I just do the powdered stuff, which are 2 parts, an acid blend. Because my husband is allergic to citric acid, I use mainly a malic acid, and then sulfite crystals. I use sulfite crystals and an acid blend mixed together with water. That creates a no rinse sanitizer, much like the commercial ingredient Star San. So I'm gonna do that now. Not very much Star San is needed, or a sanitizer, not very much sanitizer is needed because it's such a small amount. Swish it around all the stuff that you're going to use. My brew pot, my carboy, my airlock. I'm going to need to sanitize a funnel, which I have right here. I always have what I need on hand and in easy access. So you can see I've got all my brew ingredients in a pile over there, so I can get to them easily. One of the pieces of equipment that I forgot to talk about was a candy thermometer. These are easily available at your local grocery store. So yeah, that's another thing that you might want to pick up. You need to be able to tell how hot it is, and you can't do that without a thermometer, and you need that because you have to maintain certain temps throughout the time that you are brewing. So I've sanitized all of my equipment. Now it's time to go on to my materials and make sure that I have them all ready. So there is a little sheet of instructions that has come with my kit. The Great Pumpkin Special. We're going to do a seasonal because it's October, and yes, it's the Great Pumpkin. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, this one has an original gravity that's a little bit not high enough for my tastes. So I have added some things to this, I will go ahead and add them. But let's go through the ingredients and see if I've got everything that I need for this. There's no clarifier that came with the kit, so I'm adding my own Irish moss. I recommend that you do the same. Let's see. I got 2 kits. So, because they were on sale, it's like, well, I'm going to drink anyway, so I might as well get them while they're on sale. See, I've got my hot pellets. Yep. Nice hot pellets. I've got my packet of dry yeast, which works well for me. I prefer the dry yeast. It's a little easier on the pocketbook. And then, let's see. I've also got my pumpkin spice. That's added at the very end. And I've got my specialty grains right here. Since there is some chocolate rye in the specialty grains, it won't hurt for me to add a little more chocolate. Let's increase that gravity. I'm not going to add all of this 32 ounces of cocoa nibs, no. I'm probably going to add, let's do 5 ounces of cocoa nibs. And then, since we've got the chocolate, we might as well make it a little bit more of a mouthfeel. I've got 2 pounds of lactose here. I'm not going to add the whole 2 pounds of lactose. I'm just going to add 8 ounces of lactose to this. I find that I'm not really satisfied with the level of filtration that goes through with the grain bag that comes with Adventures in Homebrewing. I'm sure that they use these to keep their costs low, but I find it more effective to use a hobbies bag for the specialty grains that come with the Adventures in Homebrewing kit. And sorry, John, but this works best for me. And I think that's about it. I'll come back in a bit. This is me just unpackaging everything and making it easy to use when I need it. This is beginning to heat up very slowly, because I want to keep it at 150 to 160 degrees. I can't let it go over 160 degrees. That's very important. So here we go. I'm going to speed myself up, ripping into a bunch of packages. So you're going to have to do the same if you take this activity on as well. Now that I've got my liquid malt extract unbundled and ready to dump into the wort once it reaches that stage, I'm going to measure out, and by weight, the additives that I'm going to throw into this to make the original gravity greater than 1.4 brew. That's not what I want. I want a greater than that brew. So it's time to get weighing and measuring. Since I'm going to be doing this by weight, I have a kitchen scale here, and I'm going to be measuring out by ounces into my vessels of mason jars. 8.9 ounces, that's good enough. 5.8 ounces of cocoa nibs, so that's going to be a pretty rich, almost decadent beer that I'm making here for us to drink on Halloween, I guess. So since I'm doing this on October 2nd, it should be ready to bottle by about the 23rd, and then about Halloween we'll be able to enjoy some of this, hopefully with a higher alcohol content than the 4.6% that it advertises. I'm also going to add a little bit more corn sugar to this. I will offset it some with kind of a cidery flavor, but I think that the pumpkin and some of the other notes with the chocolate, it's going to have some heavy chocolate in there. And the spices should make it almost a non-event. I'm going to add 4 ounces of corn sugar on top of everything else that I'm adding to it. I've got to have more gravity than the 1.4 something that it says. Let me go look at it and I'll tell you what it says exactly. 1.049. And it says the finishing gravity is supposed to be 1.029. That's like a 4% alcohol. I want a little bit more than that. I want some bang for my buck, so I'm adding all of this stuff. So we'll see eventually how, if it was worth it. So I'm going to finish this. Oh, it's almost up to 150. I'm going to start the timer. 22, we'll do 22 because it's not quite at 150 yet. It should be by the time that 20 minutes rolls around, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've measured out all of my adjuncts. I've done the 20-minute boil at, not boil, it's at 150 degrees. I let it rest there at 155 because the instructions say between 150 and 160 degrees. So 155, I let it rest there for 20 minutes. And then it suggests just take the grains out of the boiling heated water and don't squeeze it. So what I've decided to do is just take the bag, and I have a stainless steel colander that I had suspended over the pot where it's draining into the wort. So I'm just going to let that sit for 20 minutes, 25, might as well. 25 minutes, I turned the heat off of the pot, and we'll see what happens, because it says don't squeeze it, so I'm letting all of that precious liquid drain back into the pot, suspended via a stainless steel colander. What great fun. Okay, so I have dumped the grains out of the hops bag that I had them in. There is a nice wort mixture sitting on my stove top. The hops bag is rinsed out and ready to receive hops for the big boil, along with the pounds of extract that I have here. Now I'm going to go ahead and get those ready. This generally takes forever. It's going to take forever too. Yet another drip in there. Drip, drip, drip. Oh, come on, come on. I am going to have a couple hours of work and then about a month total fermentation time, and bottling takes about a month, about 3 weeks to get a good fermentation. Bottle it that 3rd week, let it rest for another week, and then you've got, let's see, you've got anywhere 50 to 60 bottles of beer. And for 20 bucks, it can't be beat. What adjuncts am I going to add on top of this? Now I'm going to add the corn sugar. I measured out a little bit of it. Not very much, about 5 ounces. And this is not by any means the priming sugar. This is sugar that I bought previously in a separate amount. I bought a big 2-pound bag of it specifically for things like this, so I can boost the ABV just a little bit. I'm going to boost the ABV a little bit more by adding all of this lactose. This is milk sugar. If you are allergic to dairy, I wouldn't recommend it at all, but I'm not allergic to dairy at all. As a matter of fact, I love dairy. So there we go. Got a little bit of dairy in there. I'm gonna let it. Now I'm not adding the chocolate bits until the very end. And now I'm just waiting for this to come up to 212 degrees. And now I'm going to take a little break until this boil is done. The last 10 minutes of the boil, I am going to add about a teaspoon of Irish moss during the last 10 minutes of the boil. This leads to a clearer end product. I don't like hazy beer. That's not cool. I like a clear beer. Pretty sure you guys do too. I want a clear beer, so I'm putting it in there. Some people don't, and sometimes they get haze. This can be due to your materials, your ingredients. This can be due to bacterial contamination, why you would get a hazy beer. But, well, it tastes better to me. I feel more confident drinking a clear beer. If you do go into this, just know that it is one of the most ancient forms of water purification. If there's alcohol in it, there's nothing in there that can harm you. If it is hazy, that's okay. It might taste a little weird, but hey, you know, we've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years.